Buying a home in the Bay Area is not impossible, but making it work financially requires a shift in thinking. What we found is that to break even with renting over the next 5 years, the house should not cost more than $1 million. That experience taught us something huge. Buying below market value is 50% of the game. Welcome to Fi Study Room, where we learn and achieve financial independence together. If you are ready to break free from the 9 to 5 and take control of your time, this is the right place. Quick note before we start. This episode is based on my personal experience and learning. It is not financial advice. So be sure to do your own research or talk to a pro if needed. Welcome back to Fi Study Room. In this episode, I'm sharing the story of how we bought our first primary home in the crazy Bay Area housing market, how we made the rent versus buy decision, what criteria helped us narrow down our options, and most importantly, how we found a value-add deal that actually made financial sense. Spoiler, it was not easy. But it actually taught me that real estate in high-cost area can work if you play it right. Okay, let's get into it. Well, at that time, we were paying about $3,500 per month to rent a decent apartment. Nothing really fancy, but it was clean, safe, close to office, and it really worked for us. And we knew that we'd like to stay in the Bay for at least the next 5 years. So we thought, okay, does buying actually make more financial sense? And as always, we run the numbers and then we pull up our spreadsheet. We were using some assumptions. We were assuming that we will get 5% annual appreciation for the house that we're going to buy, and around 7% mortgage interest rate because that was the going rate at that time. And we will put around 10% down payment. And we factored in property tax, mortgage insurance, and homeowners insurance. What we found is that to break even with renting over the next 5 years, the house should not cost more than $1 million. And that was a big aha moment for us. So maybe it will work in this high-cost area as long as we find the right home. It really helped us set our very first clear filter. The price needs to be under $1 million. So what about other criteria? What really mattered for us and what didn't? Once we knew that, okay, $1 million is our cap, we need to prioritize. Because with $1 million budget, there are very few options. We didn't really care about school district because we were not really planning for kids in the next few years. And we weren't really strict on commute. So it just needs to be something that's not crazily far. And we did want a livable house under $1 million. And the area needs to be at least safe. That's pretty much it. We just want a safe, livable house for the next 5 years, which is under $1 million. And this pretty much ruled out South Bay and the Peninsula area because you just can't find homes under $1 million in those areas unless you are buying a teardown, complete teardown. So we focused on the East Bay. Union City, Hayward, San Leandro, and surrounding neighborhoods became our targets. There was another question. Should we buy a condo, a townhome, or a single family? With the budget we have in mind, it would be much easier if we just want to buy a condo or townhome. But as always, we will compare the options and think about the trade-offs. So we debated these housing types. While condos are cheaper, but the HOA fees can be high and it's just really unpredictable. Townhomes are a good middle ground, but you still don't fully own the land, and then from appreciation perspective, it is not as good as single-family homes. While single-family homes give you the most control and the most upside in appreciation, especially if you plan to renovate or add value. So ultimately, we decided to go for a single-family home. We wanted flexibility, potential for appreciation, and more privacy. While it was a bit of a stretch financially because we will have way less options for single families under 1 million in the Bay Area, but it's still worth it. So now coming to the house hunt. We have the rough criteria and we know the areas that we're looking for. There are just so many stories happened while we were looking for the house. There was actually a moment we seriously considered a completely broken down house in San Leandro. It was listed for $500K and it was falling apart. We even joked about buying it and literally camping in the backyard while we renovated it. Thinking about it, I think I was a very big hustler back then compared to now. But the scope was very huge. There was nothing working in the house. There was no kitchen, no plumbing, sketchy foundation. So we didn't have the team or the budget to tackle something that intense. So we let it go. And then after a lot of the open houses and research, eventually we found our house, a Union City home that had been sitting on the market for way too long. Why? The listing photos were, let's just say, tragic. One photo literally had a random person standing in the shot. The images were blurry and dark, and it was clearly taken on an old phone. And the listing agent? He was completely unresponsive. And those are the exact kinds of listing that you should actually get excited about. We saw the potential. While the house sits on a pretty big yard, it has a lot of potential. It had good bones. And the neighborhood was solid, I would say. It was peaceful. It was safe. So we made an offer. We negotiated really hard and eventually bought it for $725K below listing price. That experience taught us something huge. Buying below market value is 50% of the game. In a competitive market like Bay Area, if you can find something under market value, you are already halfway to a win. This is even more important if you're thinking about making flipping houses as a business. I would say this is probably the most important part when you're looking for a flipping deal. Bad photos, long days on market, unresponsive agent. These are not red flags. They are actually opportunities. And that's how we got into the game. Another thing I wish I had known earlier is that I was actually being too conservative with our appreciation assumptions. We assumed 5% appreciation when comparing rent versus buy. But if you're willing to remodel, improve, and add value, the appreciation can be much, much higher. Of course, that would depend on the location of your house. In Bay Area, different locations means different appreciation rate. And the way you do remodel, the way you add value is also very different. It is not guaranteed and definitely not passive, but it's a huge advantage compared to renting, where your money just doesn't grow at all. So to summarize all of this, appreciation can be much higher for value-add properties. Buying a home in the Bay Area won't make sense for everyone, but here are a few things that you can do for it to make sense for you. First, you need to be very clear about your goals. Why do you need to buy a home? What's most important for you? Is making sure that it makes financial sense or most important for you? Or is it your comfort? What is your prioritization? Knowing that upfront, and especially having an aligned goal with your partner, is really crucial in making this big decision. Second, you need to run the numbers based on your situation. For example, for us, the criteria is pretty clear. We need to compare to renting. And then it's very easy for us to compare in what scenario, comparing to renting, we're not losing more money. That really helped us filter a lot of the noise, a lot of the distraction, and really focus on what we need. Third, look for value-add opportunities others overlook. In previous episode, I mentioned something that Burton McHale mentioned in his book, Random Walk Down Wall Street. Unlike stock market, real estate actually has a lot of opportunities. Because the prices are not transparent, and then there are way less people working in this market comparing to stock market. So there are actually opportunities for you to get deals. Because a lot of the times, in some markets, the price does not really reflect the true value of the property. Well, if you're considering all of this and you are thinking hard and making the decision, then buying can actually be a smart move, even if it's in this crazy expensive market. Well, for us, finding a single family home under 1 million, negotiating it down and improving it ourselves set us up with a strong foundation for our financial future. And this is just the beginning. In the next few episodes, I'm planning to talk about after we bought the house in Union City, what we did in terms of renovation, how we put together the budget, what were the considerations, what were the blockers, what were the key lessons learned. And this whole experience really taught me things that are very valuable, and also it gave me the confidence that maybe flipping could be a really good business idea in the long term. And it could be one of my side hustles. To summarize this episode, buying a home in the Bay Area is not impossible, but making it work financially requires a shift in thinking. Don't wait for a deal, look for potential. You need to add value, not just hope for appreciation. In the next episode, I will take you behind the scenes of our first flip, our renovation timeline, budget blow-ups, and how we manage contractors while holding full-time jobs. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who's thinking about buying an expensive market. And as always, invest smart, stay curious, and walk your own path to financial independence. Catch you next time on 5 Study Room.